There's a million ways to design a website, and everyone's got their thoughts and opinions. But when it comes to working with a service-based business, there really is only one goal for most business owners, and that is more business, new leads, more sales, right? So if that is the focus, then worrying about winning awards and design that's out of the box and edgy and all of that only can go so far. The focus needs to be on how are you getting results for them? Is this going to get them new leads? And so what I've done in this video is I put together my methodology with over 20 years of working almost exclusively with service-based businesses on how you can walk them through a layout of a homepage that you've built for them that's not only going to look good, but that's going to get them results. But before we get started, my name is Ricky Jones of Concierge Web Company. I've been working almost exclusively building and designing websites for small, local, service-based businesses for about 20 years. And so in this video, I'm going to share a little bit of my expertise on how I go about designing a website for a service-based business. What we're going to start with is the hero section. Now, the hero section is where you're going to basically make your elevator pitch. When I'm talking with the client, that's exactly the way I explain it to them, right? So your elevator pitch, they know what that means. It means you got a few seconds to be able to explain to somebody about your business, what you do and all of that. When it comes to a website, the way I like to explain it is you've got to answer a few questions. That's who you are, what you do, where you do it, and how to get in touch with you. So your hero section really needs to showcase who you are, what you do, and where you do it, and have a clear call to action for how to get in touch with you. You've only got a few seconds to get people's attention. And if you can't deliver that elevator pitch within the first few seconds with the hero section on your service-based business website, then you're gonna lose them. And so that's why you've gotta be methodical about the way that we're laying out that hero section, right? And if you can answer those questions, your hero section is going to deliver results. So I could talk about this forever, but what I want to do is actually show you some examples, and we'll walk through an actual client website that came to me recently. They wanted to redesign. I had built their site over a decade ago, and they were finally ready to freshen things up. And so I'm going to walk you through this exact same methodology, which is what I used with them, and I'm going to show you exactly how we did it. So let's look at the example, right? This is a website that I recently redesigned for a client, and what you can see with this hero section, what it does is it highlights exactly who they are, what they do, where they do it, and how to get in touch with them. So if you look at it here, you can see industrial, construction, contractor, you know exactly what they do. There's no ambiguity, right? That headline tells exactly what they do. Delivering safe, high quality construction, maintenance, and repair services for mining, energy, oil and gas, and industrial clients. Again, who they are and what they do. Obviously the logo's in the top left. Even the hero image is a picture of their building with their logo on it. So it's very clear the name of the company. It's very clear what they do. And we're even giving them a little detail into what they do, not just construction contractor, but some of the different kind of sectors that they work in, right? Perfect. We've got a clear call to action with that blue button. It stands out, contact us. And we've got a secondary call to action, which isn't highlighted as much, right? Because you never want them to both be the same. We're not competing. But if they're not ready to contact us, they can browse the services, which takes them down to the section below. So this does a really good job of highlighting everything that we just talked about: who you are, what you do, where you do it, and how to get in touch with you. In this case, they're not limited to like a very small service area. So we'll get to kind of explaining that, how to handle that. In this case, it's not like a certain state or a certain county or a certain city. And so we chose not to focus too much on the geographical location, but we'll look at another example over here. So with this one, for example, it's 4 Points Health. They are providing quality healthcare at affordable prices and then we've got a few different cities where they operate. They've actually got 5 locations. And so what we chose to do here is kind of have a rotating headline that's going to showcase each of those cities. So when someone comes to the website, they can see, oh yeah, I'm in Cedar City, Utah. And so you're able to showcase where you do it, right? So who you are, 4 Points Health, what you do, quality healthcare, where you do it, and then we've got St. George, Cedar City, all these different southern Utah locations, right? So all that is very clear. We've got a warm and inviting photo over here that showcases the type of people that you serve. And then you've got a little bit of a blurb down below that headline that's explaining the services that they provide, which is primary care, behavioral health, counseling, dental services. So it's explaining who you are, what you do, where you do it, and then how to get in touch with you. They can click on the main primary call to action here is to find a clinic, right? And so that is listed right here. It stands out, and it's a perfect example of what we're talking about with a hero for a service-based business. The next thing that we want to do is showcase the quality of work, right? So the best way to do that is with a portfolio that you can actually just show photos, videos, and really build trust and show people without having to tell them, right? So whether that's a gallery or a carousel of sliding photos, whether that's even part of your hero or not, you really want to be able to showcase your work so people can see what you do and the quality of what you do without having to even tell them anything. So when it comes to like showcasing a gallery or the type of work that you do, there's different ways to do that. Not everyone wants like a whole gallery of images on their website. So for example, on this one for Duras Industrial, we've got a few images here that showcase the type of heavy industrial construction kind of work that they do without having it be just a big block of a gallery, right? So we've got a few images here, and then this one we've kind of combined the gallery and the showcasing of the work with a little blurb about the about section. So this one we've kind of merged those two sections into one. You don't have to do it that way. You could just showcase a bunch of images, but we chose to do it a little bit differently here. If we go back to 4 Points Health, this one is a little bit different as well because it's one of those where you're not going to just showcase a bunch of, if it's a medical field or something like that, we don't want to showcase needles going into skin and that kind of stuff, even though that is what they do. They do a lot of vaccines and injections and stuff like that, immunizations, but we don't want to like show that. It's not something that's like visually appealing, right? And so we chose to kind of skip that. In this case, we did highlight the services, but there isn't anywhere on this page that we actually have a gallery. So it kind of depends on the type of business. I think for something like Duras, it's a lot easier to showcase the work with photos than it is for a healthcare provider. Another important section is your about section, right? We've already told them who we are, what we do, but you might want to get a little bit more into that. If it's a small business and it's just kind of like the owner, it's family run, some people like to showcase that, right? Maybe a picture of the owner and his family talking about the time, how long he's lived in the area, how long he's served his community. So that's kind of one approach. Another approach, if it's less, owner focused, is more just kind of the time that they've been in business. You want to build trust. You want to showcase maybe the values that company espouses. So it's a good place to do something like that. And that can be, showing an image, a few kind of bullet points about what makes them unique, what they're all about, what their values are. Next thing we want to do on a homepage is to reinforce trust. And we want to do that with reviews. So best thing to use is like Google reviews, Yelp reviews, wherever they're most active, wherever their customers are most active in leaving reviews. You want to focus on bringing those reviews over and showcasing those, especially on your homepage, right? In this case, this company works with, governments and things like that. So they don't really have testimonials, but we still want to be able to establish trust. And so one of the things that they did here is they've worked with a lot of these agencies, and safety is a big thing for them. And so these are organizations like OSHA, which most people are familiar with, but there's a lot of other ones that they have to work with. And so they wanted to showcase that on the website. We've got this nice little scrolling bar of logos here, which helps to establish the fact that, hey, we're very active in the industry. We work with all these different departments, all these different agencies. If we go back to 4 Points Health, the difference here is they're working directly with the consumer. And you can see we've got this nice little section here, which is scrolling reviews. And these are actually pulled from their Google business profile, which we'll talk about in another video. But what this does is, again, establishes trust. Curated this section to use only reviews that had pictures of the people leaving the reviews, because again, that's establishing trust. It's more human, it's more personable, it's warm, it's inviting, it's showing smiling faces, which is happy customers, which is what we're trying to portray here. So this section does a great job of that. And a lot of times what you'll want to do is also have an option, which we do deeper in the site, just not on the homepage, for how to leave a review and how to see more reviews. All right, so let's talk about services. On this one, you can see we've got this little scrolling service section, right? So it says, we choose to provide excellent care every day and take pride in our service. And then we've got these little scrolling cards that outline the different services that they provide. We've got a little icon. Again, goal here is to make it warm and inviting. We don't want to be super clinical. And this does a great job of that. Each of these would then click over to a landing page that goes into more detail about that service. If we go back to Duris, we can see a similar thing. So here we're outlining the different sectors that they work in. And if you go down further, it goes into a little bit more detail about each of those individual services that they actually provide. So you want to have this outlined on your homepage. You don't need to get too granular, but you want to have, like in this case, we've got sectors and then we've got services. Next section we want to focus on is location, right? We want to show people where you're located. If you're a house painter in Florida, someone in California that has no business looking at your website, right? So you need to highlight the fact of, hey, I serve this area. And maybe it's just one town, maybe it's counties, maybe it's statewide, maybe it's countrywide. And so there's different ways to showcase that. I like to use a Google business map of your service area. That can be great. If it's more than just a city or a county, the next best thing is to show kind of a whole map of the United States, for example, with all the states highlighted where you do business, where you serve. So I think that's a really good way to showcase your service area. Make sure that the people who are looking at your website live within that or operate within that area. Otherwise, they're wasting their time, right? You don't want to be talking to someone who's not a qualified lead. This is a perfect way to showcase that. So when it comes to service area, what we wanted to highlight here was the fact that they're very much based in southern and even kind of central Utah. And so we've got 5 clinics across the area. We're showing those on a map. This is a great option because it showcases exactly where they are on just a Utah map. It's not like a whole world map and trying to pinpoint that way. It shows the state of Utah, which is instantly recognizable. So someone looking at this is gonna know right away without even reading any of the copy, hey, that's Utah. Then we've got the clinics also listed over here on the right, which are clickable, and they've got direct addresses that will take you. You click on that, it takes you to a clinic page with more detail about that clinic specifically. If we go to Duris, we did something similar here, where they are one of those who don't have they're headquartered in Phoenix, Arizona, but they actually do business kind of across the whole Western United States. And so we highlighted all the states here that they've got specific licensing and credentials in, but it also, they're able to work pretty much anywhere. This is their main service area. It's very clearly outlined here with the contrast between the dark blue for the states that they are working in and the light gray for the ones that they don't tend to do much work in but can still operate in. So this does a great job. The fact that the text is overlaid over the eastern half focuses your eye on the western half because that's where their target demographic is, right? So this does a great job of showcasing service area. And by having those names listed out there, that it does a lot for SEO as well. So we're doing a good job of showcasing where we're located. And this is why we didn't put it in the hero section, because we didn't want to just say Western United States, or we didn't want to outline all the states right there off the bat. But this section does a great job of telling you just where those are. And lastly, this one's big for me. When we get to if someone has gone through your whole website and they get to the bottom of the site, you don't want them to have to think about, well, what do I do now? You want to have some clear calls to action so that they're not having to scroll all the way back up to the top to figure out what to do next. So in this case, we've got a very clean and easy to use footer, right? So this footer is great because it highlights calls to action for how to get in touch with them, phone, fax, and address. And then we've also got our navigation duplicated down here at the bottom, which this is a small site. It doesn't have a million pages or anything. So it's very easy to say, okay, I saw the homepage, now I want to know about employment. I'm looking for a job, right? So it's very clearly outlined. There's lots of negative space here to make it easy to read. It's not overwhelming with information that doesn't matter to anybody. It's all calls to action. Everything down here is clickable. So this is a great example of a footer. We're gonna go to 4 Points Health and see kind of what we did with this one. So this one, for example, they have a blog. We didn't really talk a lot about that. But once you get to the footer, same idea, right? So we've got over here highlighted in this kind of card format, primary call to action, which is to book an appointment. and then a link to the patient portal. But then over here on the right, we've also got laid out a few different menus that you can find the link for exactly what you're looking for. So you don't want someone to get to the footer and just see your copyright, your colophon or anything like that. Where do I go next, right? I've made it to the bottom of the page. I'm interested. How can I go deeper into the content? So you've seen in this video exactly how I've put thought into how I've laid out the homepage, right? I haven't talked a lot about design or how beautiful it is or, any of the design techniques that I've used. The focus has been on the purpose behind each section. Each section on your page should have a purpose and an objective and a call to action. The goal is to drive business, to get leads. And if you explain it to your client exactly how we've done in this video, where I'm walking through each section and I'm explaining the purpose, I'm explaining why this is important, how this is gonna help them get more business, that is gonna sell it to them. You, at that point, have established your expertise. They're gonna trust every decision you make, which is what you want, right? They've hired you because you are the expert, because you are a designer, because you've been doing this for a long time. If you can explain it to them in that way, there's gonna be a lot less pushback on, oh, I wanna change this color, or I'd rather do this, or I'd rather do that. The focus is on you as the expert driving forward a design that's going to be effective for their business. And that's all that really matters. Again, if you're working with a business owner, what they care the most about is getting new business. And with your design, you want to achieve that goal and that objective. So thanks for watching this video. I'm Ricky Jones once again with Concierge Web Company. If you have any questions or need any help, please leave a comment below and I'll be happy to jump in and help as much as I can. Thanks for watching the video. Take care.